Hey everybody, how's it going? Good to see everybody stopping in. Appreciate y'all coming through. Started a couple minutes early today to try to work out all the glitches before we join up with Chad Rev. Hey Haley, are you able to hear me? There's my audio person. Haley Beth, are you able to hear me okay? Hi, Painting at Tiffany's. Good to see you, Tiffany. Hope you're doing all right. Yes, you can hear me. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate all the shares. Thank you for the likes. Started just a couple minutes early to try to get everything sorted out. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Today we got an interesting show, y'all. Manipulation. And our guest is Mike Carter from Theory Radio. I got all kinds of notes here. Thank you, Penny. Yeah, you did spam me with the purple hearts. You sure did. I'm going to try to hit you back and see if things are working today. Sometimes I'm not able to even touch it because it freezes up on me. So let's see what happens. See if I can send Haley some purple hearts today. There we go. Look at that. Purple hearts. Eric the Airbrush Artist. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you stopping in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Can't wait to get my Eric the Airbrush Artist shirt. Ashman, thank you for stopping in, brother. I appreciate it. Y'all, if you're not following Ashman, that dude makes some of the dopest characters out there. Love your work, brother. Love your vibe, too, man. I wish I was able to catch you live more often. I see you on. I'm just usually doing stuff. But Ashman, that dude, man, something else. Bearded Carver, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. It's Tuesday, y'all. It's Tuesday. We got another Gen Project show for you. Mike Carter from Theory of Radio's Fire Pit is going to be over here talking with us. And, there's my buddy Chart. He's on this side for me. He's over here for me. I don't know. He might be over there for y'all.
Every other time.
I hear him.
That's all.
There he is. Oh, he's moving. He's not frozen.
No. Here we go.
Just a little bit of a delay. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing well.
You got me yet? We
Your
good?
sound is about a second behind your mouth moving. It's pretty awesome.
Oh. Whoa. What's up, Eric? What's up, Haley Beth? Is it catching up yet? Pow.
Yeah, man. There we go. Now we're catching up. There you are. There he is. Yes. Now we got you, bro. Look at this guy. He did it. He did a live today, and there's a bunch of folks there, y'all. That was pretty cool.
Thank you guys for joining me earlier for that flow state.
Hey,
Got down with my bad self.
Man, we got Bearded Carver, Heather's English Dion, Heather's Hobbies, SA Artistries, Painting at Tiffany's, Haley Beth,
Cool.
Eric the Airbrush Artist came through, Ashman was in here, DC's in
up,
here.
everybody?
Man.
What's up, Tammy?
So, you guys,
Eric?
little public service announcement at the beginning here. We got Mike Carter is who we're going to be interviewing today, who is does the Fire Pit over on Theory of Radio. You're familiar with Theory of Radio.
Yes.
And he does
Should be.
He's an amazing guy, man. He does, this dude steps out front is what he does. And he talks about things like cognitive dissonance, toxic masculinity, self-victimization, some topics we might be familiar with on and it should be a really interesting show. Hey Sammy B, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Listening at mother-in-law's painting. Right on. Appreciate you. Good to see you, Italo. There's Italo. He does the Friday show poetry over there on Theory of Radio. Thank you, Italo. And for those of you that don't know, you can catch the Gin Project on Wednesday nights at 6 Eastern on Theory Radio. They take one of the shows with an interview in it, one of these shows, and Seb condenses it down to 30 minutes. And he just gives you the highlights, the hot spots, mostly the interview with the guest. Thank you, Eric.
Yes.
And so you can catch that over on Wednesdays. I believe at some point you'll be able to catch those archived too. I'm not for sure. Hey, Danielle, thank you for stopping.
I think you could say that.
If y'all haven't seen that buffalo she's working on, woo. Go ahead, man.
I was just going to say, I think you could probably say we're in gindication.
We've been gindicated. We've been gindicated. You can catch Chad's voice and my voice and the guest voice over there. It doesn't have any of the video. It's a radio station, so they have he cuts down the audio, makes it into a nice 30-minute segment, and it's gindicated now. Thank you, Sandy B. So another reason, since our friends are in here right now, another reason that I download the shows on the YouTubes over there. The Gin Project shows. I usually don't do our flow states. We'll talk about that later. But the Gin Project show is downloaded onto the YouTube, and it's full edition, the entirety of the show. And part of the reasons for doing that, hey, Optimistic Buddy, part of the reason for doing that is that enables you folks, if you have a YouTube account, you can go over there and while you're there, subscribe to their account. It doesn't cost anything. It's just like following. And you can actually pull out little clips and whatnot, or you can download the whole show. But if we give you a shout out, or you're a guest on the show, or you get talked about on the show, that way you can pull those clips out and use them for advertisements for yourself if you would like to. So that's part of the reason that we do that. I know it opens us to some vulnerabilities there. That's obvious. But so far, it's been a pretty cool deal, and we'll keep doing it until somebody gives us a reason not to. Like we do everything else. So if you get shouted at, it's just the Gin Project over on YouTube, easy to find. I'm not sure. There's a link I know in the TikToks, but I'm not sure. Sometimes my website link works, sometimes it don't. You never know. So yeah. There she is. What's going on? How are you, Wolfie Lammy? Thank you for stopping through. I love that name. That's a great handle. My mother-in-law needs my help often. No worries, Sammy B. You're good. No worries. Sammy B is otherwise distracted. She's in a flow state, you might say, so she might not be able to comment. Hey, Santiago, there's another one of our brothers. That's his image right there that he created. So, if you would like to, you are more than able or willing. We're happy for you to do it. You're welcome to go over and pull a clip. If we shout you out, if we mention you, if we talk about you, you're welcome to use it and promote yourself. The vast majority of the time, I would argue that since I've been on TikTok, there's only a couple people that I've ever shouted out that I went on to regret shouting out. So, that's life. That's how it goes. That's part of it. And hope y'all are able to use that to your benefit. Thank you so much for tuning in. And the topic for the show is manipulation in regards to woodworking and other things, because that's the topic that's going to be on the fire pit tonight with our guest, Mike Carter. And, manipulation can be a good thing or a bad thing. It can be both. And, for example, part of the reason we went through so many different iterations of trying to figure out how to do our shows is we're trying to manipulate the algorithm, right? The reason we try to share information with everyone that's in this community on this platform is we're trying to manipulate the algorithm into believing that the artist community is a bigger community and in a more important community and all of that. We believe that manipulation leads to other people wanting to buy products from artists, which is also manipulation. So there's a lot of things involved. It's one of those topics we could do 100 shows about. If you pull up a quick Google search about manipulation, it'll tell you things like generalizations and projection and violating boundaries and exaggeration and feigning innocence, also feigning ignorance. changing criteria, complaining, flattery, victimhood, blaming, coercive behavior, silent treatment, spreading lies and rumors. Um, all of these are manipulations. And as an example of how these affect us in our day to day lives and what my journey has shown me, this is a book by James M. Kaufman called The Characteristics of Emotional and Behavioral Disorders of Children and Youth. This is an old book. This is a book I had in college, which puts this book, 20 something years ago. The reason I grabbed this one out and shared it because a lot of the information is still relevant. And for those of you that don't know, I actually have a degree in psychology and special education. So I've had to study about some of this stuff. And my specialty, for those that don't know, was in behavior modification. I don't know that I've ever mentioned that before. But my special area was behavior modification. And I worked a lot with really difficult clients, sometimes with violent clients, sometimes with nonverbal clients. And it was often they were violent because they were nonverbal. They weren't able to communicate. So the title of the book is literally Characteristics of Emotional and Behavior Disorders of Children and Youth. And my experience in life has been these people grow up to be adults and they have the same problems, right? They don't magically go away. Hey, Ethereal Radio. So I know that there's a lot of mental health discussion on this platform, and there's a lot of need for mental health discussion in the society that we live in. What this show has kind of grown into was a metaphor for woodworking, really, and we talk more about mental health. Because in the woodworking world, if you're talking about manipulation, you're talking about, in the instance of making this, using heat and moisture and pressure repeatedly over time, and then let it dry out, then repeat the process, and you eventually get something in the shape that you want, and it's stable. It will stay in that shape because you've taken the time to go through the entire process and do all the steps properly, right? So we see these things throughout our lives oftentimes a lot, and it's one of those things where we can only really guide what we do. And Devlin, what's going on, Devlin? Yeah, man, John Doty. Give a few shout outs over there, Chad. Go ahead, knock them out, man. We got some really awesome people up in here.
Oh man, I got Frail Monkey in the house. I just want to tell you that. I got Tenderheart Art. I got Devlin
Monkey. What's up, brother?
Over here. I got Italo over here. Thank you, Joan, for the follow. Yeah, I got Eric the Airbrush Artist coming back and forth with us over here. Yeah, there's a ton of good peeps over here. Sammy B. What's up? Burnt Diva. I'm going to get that for you today.
Burnt
Put
Diva.
this on just so I could get it for you. It's going to happen.
Man, what a list of names. I love it. Amazing. Thank y'all for the likes, the shares.
John Doty.
All of that kind of thing. If there's anybody out there that has a link to Lars, please send him one. Let's see if we can get Lars up in here. I got a little something for him today if he shows up. Don Doty, good to see you, man. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right because I like the way you get down, brother. Wolfie Lama, good to see you, my friend. So today I thought, I'm going to be, our guest is Mike Carter. He does the Fire Pit. I have a lot of respect for this guy, and the reason I have a lot of respect for this guy kind of reminds me of Chad, too. Hey, DJ, how's it going? The champ, what's up? Is that he goes ahead as a man, and in Mike's case, he happens to be an African American man, and steps forward and talks about subjects that men aren't necessarily always supposed to talk about, supposedly. And I think that takes a certain amount. I know that it takes a certain amount of courage because it makes you a target for criticism, for ridicule, for consternation, all that kind of thing. So I have a lot of respect for Mike. Mike is a contractor. He works with ruffians, and then he goes and talks about issues like this. So he hires. He has a lot of people that work for him over the years. He's had to deal with a lot of different people. He's been through a whole lot in his life. He's born up north, then moved down south as a kid, and I can tell you that can be problematic as a person that was born and raised in the deep south. I've been trying to unlearn some of that stuff since I was 16 or 18 years old, and I'm still trying to unlearn some of that stuff. So, yes, tonight's topic on the fire pit is manipulation, Italo. That is correct. And that's what we're talking about on this show today, too. So, in woodworking, there's a lot of ways to think about manipulation, right? In my instance, I'm constantly moving equipment around in the shop to set up for the next thing that I'm working on, or I'm putting different types of blades on different pieces of equipment, or I'm sharpening, in some instances, I'm sharpening my hand planes on a little bit different angle to account for the softness or the hardness of the wood. It will help determine what kind of glue that I might use for a particular. It will help determine what kind of joint I might decide to create. Um, and there is a decision to be made in every one of those, right? And what you're trying to do is manipulate your medium. If you're a painter or if you're a carver like Chad is, essentially you're trying to manipulate your medium. But then there's also a number of manipulations that, hold on just a second. I'm going to try to answer this because I don't think they're going to stop. Sorry.
It ain't me, kids.
It's all good. My bad, y'all. Sometimes people think things that are emergency aren't actually an emergency. So after the 8th or 9th text, you got to tell them, hey, look, I'm busy right now. I'll get back to you when I can.
God damn it,
Sorry
Bobby,
about that.
just
So
calm down.
hey, there's a good example of a type of manipulation, right? Somebody reaches out to you, you're busy, you're not able to respond, so they reach out again, then they reach out again, then they reach out again, then they're pissed off when you didn't respond immediately. And when you explain to them that you actually have a life and you do other things sometimes, they either have to accept that or not. That's manipulation. So, in the woodworking world, take Chad's carving behind him for an example. As he was starting to carve the face of that piece, he noticed that there was this really cool grain work that was going on. And he literally shifted the entire face of the piece down so that her lips were in that grain area because it made sense and looks really cool. So sometimes we think of the word manipulation as an entirely negative thing, and it isn't always a negative thing. Flattery is a form of manipulation. Now, the intent behind it determines whether it's good or bad, right? If you're flattering someone because you're trying to take advantage of them, that's not good, obviously. If you're flattering someone because you're trying to make them have a better day because you care about them, then that would be a positive manipulation. Pretty simple stuff, right? So, and then there's all these contributing factors to manipulation. And I'm sure we'll get into a lot of this stuff in the fire pit in Mike's show. But, emotional intelligence is a thing, right? People may be very intelligent, but they may not be very emotionally intelligent, right? People's financial situation oftentimes determines how they act. Their health sometimes determines how they act. Health can be a big factor in how you operate in your environment. Your own personal safety can be a factor of how you operate. And let's not mention cultural factors, right? Those can certainly be problematic. So, if you, and there's these, and these things have tells, right? So how do you know if someone is being manipulative when they tell you that you look beautiful today? Well, you look for consistency. How do they treat you over time? Right? Is this a really unusual behavior for them? You look for sincerity, which you can also determine over time oftentimes. And you look for things like context, like what is going on around me? What's happening? Why would they be saying this, right? If you're going through some pretty major health problems, people might compliment your appearance more often than they usually would because they're trying to be nice to you, right? When Chad went through chemo, he lost all his hair. on his face, on his head, under his arms, all of it. He looked like a little one of those little mice that, you know, one of those little hairless cats or something.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have
much.
been, and
That's
unless you were a dear friend of Chad's, you wouldn't want to say that. Now I know Chad. He's got a sick sense of humor. It's amazing. So I know that I could say something like that and he'd think it's hilarious. But I might say the same thing to someone else and they'd really get their feelings hurt. So context matters, right? Hello, Angel. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, folks. Thanks for stopping in. We'll shout you out. We're trying to cover a lot of ground today, so we'll shout you out as soon as we're able to. You know, hit them up, man. Hit them up. Hit a few of them up, Chad, while you're over there.
Oh, thank you for that compliment earlier, Johnny Ray. I appreciate that. Yes, Frail Monkey. Where they're looking, let's see here. Sammy B says, yes, finally someone uses this platform for good. We're trying real hard. Hi, SA.
Don't tell anybody, Sammy. Secret will get out. Hey,
Frail Monkey called it Chadopecia.
Chadopecia.
Yes, Santiago. 3 times with cancer, 2 times had to do chemo. Thank you. Thank you so much, Santiago. Big love to you. You're amazing too, sir.
Santiago's artwork right there, ladies and gentlemen. Natasha's artwork, Eve's Artistry's artwork, Project Zero's artwork. Wilson Rose's artwork. So on this platform particularly, why I was interested in this, some will know, but others wouldn't. But on this particular platform and on social media, it's called social media, y'all. There are these things seem to be magnified, right? Manipulations seem to be magnified, and here's what I mean by that is. Let's say, one of the things that social media gives you, one of the things that all of us being able to talk is we can communicate. But the other side of that means anybody can communicate. Anybody can say anything, right? And there aren't a whole lot of consequences. There aren't a whole lot of ways to hold people accountable on social media unless you want to get attorneys involved and that kind of thing. And me personally, I try to never involve cops or attorneys. In my lifetime, I'm 53 years old soon. Well, this year I'll be 53. And I've called the cops once, and that was when my father passed away, my stepfather, actually, because where I lived, you had to do that to get the coroners to show up. Otherwise, we took care of our own issues where I grew up. And that may or may not be good. But the point is on social media, there isn't always accountability, and it leaves people out there not really knowing and frustrated. So I think for those of you that get the opportunity, that have the time, go over to Theory Radio, download the app. It doesn't cost anything, and start checking out Mike Carter's show. He's a dude that steps out front. Heard that, no stitches. That's right. And talks about these issues, because me personally, I was born in the Deep South. There were people in my family that were literally white supremacists. There were people in my family that were quite the opposite. There obviously, way back in my family, were people with nappy hair. So there's that. But the reality is we all have our own culture. We all have our own factors involved in how we perceive things and how we take things to be, right? I did a lot of work with individuals with disabilities, and I'm going to try to describe something that was really common within that population, and I think it'll ring home for true of you. There were people that I worked with that were born with things like cerebral palsy or Down syndrome or spinal bifida or whatever number of issues. And then there were other people that were in car accidents or other kinds of accidents that had brain injuries or were sick and it traumatized their brain or whatever the case may be. And they tended to fall into 2 sort of categories in a way. And I know it's difficult to categorize people, but this is just for the purposes of a conversation. And generally what would happen is there was a spectrum, right? They would be on one end of the spectrum or the other. And of course there were behaviors in between those. But on one end, you would have the people that were bound and determined that they were not going to let whatever their limitation was be considered a disability. They were just going to do their thing. And they would adapt to whatever they needed to do. And it was just, they would adapt their behavior. They would manipulate their environment in that way, oftentimes by modifying their own behaviors. Then there were people on the other end of the spectrum that only wanted to use their disability as a crutch and as a claim of victimhood. And their whole narrative and everything they talked about was related to that. And they were typically the very unsuccessful ones. They were typically the ones that lived their lives unhappy. They never finished anything. They never followed up on anything. They didn't have meaningful relationships. It plays out in a lot of different areas in people's lives. It really does. It comes out in all these other areas. And I'm sorry Chad didn't get to say much today, but I'm really trying to cover a whole lot of ground. So what I've seen happen on this platform, even with individuals with disabilities, I've seen people on both sides. I've seen people on here making the best out of things, like Quincy, like our friend Haley Beth. And I've seen other folks on here that we know have some limited admitted limitations that have gone the complete opposite route. And that's their choice too. But the thing that happens, unfortunately, is the types of manipulators, just let's say regular folks that are, thank you, Spurs, good to see you. Let's say just the regular folks that are manipulators. Oftentimes the way that plays out is, let's say, for example, all of us have had to work with a lot of people in our lives. I'm older, so I've worked in a lot of different jobs and doing a lot of different things, which means I've worked with a lot of different people. Some of them I didn't like at all, and some of them didn't like me at all. But we managed to work together. We managed to do a good job. We managed to win our medals and awards and finish our shifts or do whatever it is we needed to do, because we were on that end of the spectrum where we were problem solvers and we didn't have to be best friends. We had a job to do. As long as we got the job done, that's what matters. And both people were able to focus on that. Then there were other times where you work with people, and let's say that you're not in a situation where you're in the military or you're working for another business and you have your own business. For most of my life, I've had my own business. So that puts me in a circumstance where I don't have to work with people I don't want to work with. Period. Full stop. I don't owe any explanations. I don't owe any reasons. I just sometimes find myself working with people and realize over time that this isn't someone I want to spend a whole bunch more time working with. Now, we all have strategies for that, and I'll tell you publicly, my strategy just tends to be keep my distance. I don't badmouth folks. I don't say ugly things about people. You can check my homework. If you've heard me saying ugly folks about people, please come forward and say so. And you won't find people coming forward because I don't do that. Now, here's the other thing about manipulation. Folks that use it for the negative reason often assume that everybody operates the way that they do. That's another tell for manipulators. Oftentimes, they assume that everybody does things the same way that they do things. So if they're the type of person that goes around bad-mouthing people, then that's what they do. And they assume that you're doing the same thing. The problem is that everybody isn't that way. And some people are good problem solvers. And all you have to do in that situation is look over the past few months of your life and say, hey, have I witnessed person A bad-mouthing folks every chance they got? Or have I witnessed person B bad-mouthing folks every chance they got? And people do those assessments naturally. You don't have to tell them to do it. It just happens. And what they find out over time is, well, this person over here or these people over here, every time I run into them, they've got something negative to say about someone. And every time I run into these folks on this other place, I've never heard them say anything negative about people, especially specific people, right? So we all see these things play out in front of us. We see these manipulations. And a lot of times they escalate, right? So someone who was working with another person that is no longer working with that person has these feelings of rejection. Now, they either turn those into something positive, or they try to turn that into their own victimization, their own victimhood, right? And the way that happens is they start spreading rumors, they start telling lies, they try to associate with the same people so that they can start planting these seeds of doubt. And if you are vindictive and you are that type of person and you're willing to spend all day on TikTok or all day on some other platform and that's all you have to do with your life, then you can cover a lot of ground. The problem with that is that's more and more people that you have to admit that you're bad mouthing other folks in front of, right? And the problem is sometimes those people don't like that. And sometimes those people go back and say, hey, what's going on here? Or sometimes those people say, I don't believe you. And that leads to other problems, which leads to escalations oftentimes, right? And I'm talking in general terms, but these are really typical instances that you could see happen. I've seen it happen to a bunch of different people on this platform, people that I care about. I've seen it happen to me. But the truth is, it's all types of manipulation. And I, for example, try to be complimentary. I might tell you that your artwork is really, really good in my eyes. I'm not an art critic, right? I'm probably never going to tell you that your art is garbage, right? Well, what good would ever come out of that? So now, if you come to me with a piece of art and say, hey, would you be critical of this? Then I might tell you it's garbage if I think it's garbage. But that's because you asked me to, right? Seems like there's a bunch of art critics on here that don't know how to do art at all themselves, but got a lot to say about other people's art. So to that, I would say, artists, keep doing your thing. Don't worry about those fools.
Don't be manipulated.
Don't be manipulated. Chad, man, anything you want to say to this point? You look kind of like you might be frozen over there.
It sounds like
Wondering what I might say next.
Oh no, dude! I've always got my helmet on. You can ask Feral Monkey. I'm in for the ride. It sounds like the lunch menu for TikTok or well social media in general that you're going on over there about. So I'm sure that plenty of people that you are speaking to right now have had to deal with this in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Either last year or today. Who knows? Yeah, I'm riding shotgun. So, I got my seatbelt on, homie.
Right on. All right. So,
thank you,
for those of you that are still with me, I hope this is making sense to you. And my hope is what I try to do should be obvious. It should have been obvious since the first show.
Haley Bay.
Right? Two things. I find the artists on this platform absolutely fantastic, amazing. I've met some incredible people like my brother over here. And there's also some not so good people that are also artists on here. And we all fall on that spectrum. We've all found ourselves on the wrong end of the spectrum where we're playing victim when we shouldn't be, or we're blaming somebody else for our own problems. We're all guilty of this stuff. It isn't that any of us are innocent of it. It's just some of us are much better practitioners of the negative than others. And sadly, my observation is that the vast majority of all of the people that are bringing the negative are unhappy with their life. And my suggestion would be maybe change something that you do. Maybe it isn't everybody around you that's bad. Maybe you need to change some shit. Right? Maybe it's you that actually has to change something in order for your circumstances to change. You got to work on yourself sometimes too.
Manipulate your own self.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. You can damn sure manipulate your own self. And one of the things I would hope that we would be cognizant of is that everybody isn't playing with the same cards. Everybody doesn't have the same financial resources. Everybody doesn't have the same emotional intelligence. Everybody doesn't have the same mental resources. Everybody doesn't have the same physical capacities. So we should take those into consideration, right? If there's someone that has an obvious limitation, we might give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes, right? Someone that doesn't have those obvious limitations shouldn't be mad because somebody with limitations got the benefit of the doubt and they didn't. That's how it works. So, if you want to better yourself, then look at yourself critically. Figure out, how are you manipulating the people around you? Because I personally used to write training programs for individuals that dealt with every aspect of their life. And in order for me to be good at that, in order for me to have any integrity at all, I had to always ask myself what the motivation behind this particular part of the programming was. Right? I couldn't write programs for people to help them learn things because I was angry at them as punishment. Even if I was angry at them, the programming that I was writing needed to be related to the task they were trying to learn, devoid of my emotional feelings, right? So I would often have to do self-check. Why am I writing this into the program? Is this something that they really need, or is this something, right? So hopefully all of us have these self-checks. It has become very obvious to me on TikTok over the last 6 months that there are people roaming around that have zero of those self-checks. So the thing about the social media world is just more mad, and they're less. So when somebody goes on social media and starts spreading lies and rumors and whatnot and starts throwing around like words, like they don't even know what they mean, as accusations, then those tend to end up ringing pretty hollow, right? Um, it reminds me of someone who has learned vocabulary words, but they just know the basic definition, and they're a little more complicated words, so they don't know how to use them in the right sentence structure. So when they say them, it literally sounds like they're trying to sound smarter than they are. You ever had that happen before? Where somebody would say something and the terminology they use lets you know that they were clueless about what they were actually talking about. So there's another tell, right? And I saw somebody drop in the comments earlier. Oftentimes, if they're critical of your art and you ask them to show you their art, they don't have any, right? Or if they make an accusation, they don't have it. They talk about what they got, but there's never any evidence because it's an accusation because they made the shit up in their head. Right? Because it isn't real. Because they're trying to figure out how to make themselves look better. So the other side of that coin is I see folks like Chad Rev Art go into chat rooms that are specifically designed to help people that are going through something and spend his day hanging out in that room doing the best he can to try to help out those folks. And every moment that he was in there, he was trying to manipulate them. Every moment that he was in there, he was trying to ever so slightly sway their day. And the reason he was doing that is he had been through it. The man has been through cancer 3 times. So if I'm going through treatments and I wanted somebody to talk to while I was going through treatments, that might be the dude that I would want to talk to. There's your context. A guy that's been through cancer 3 times might have something to say about going through cancer treatment. Someone who has witnessed it, like me, I've lost my dad to it last year. I've lost multiple friends and relatives to it over the years. My mom's had it a few times, but I haven't had it yet. And I hope that I never do. So there's some places Chad could go that I simply can't go. No matter how much emotional intelligence I have, I don't have the context. So, Rick. Rick. Don't worry about what they say. They're saying. Yes, absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So sorry I've been missing the comments, guys. I've been kind of running through, but we did get through. We did get all the material that I wanted to cover. Um, and the reason I wanted to cover that is, like I said, the guy that's coming on, that kind of sets the table for some of the topics that we can talk about. His life story, the things that he's been through in his life, the things that he's had to deal with. A lot of these are those things, right? He's a contractor and he's done jobs before, and then the people don't pay him, and they make excuse after excuse, and they use the fact of the way that he looks against him to try not to pay. Um, Thank you, Rick. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. You rock, my friend.
What up,
I got a
Davino?
shirt on the way, Rick the Muse. If you haven't ordered your Rick the Muse shirt yet, I've got one on the way. If you haven't ordered your new Chad Rev Art shirt yet, you need to get you one. I haven't ordered mine yet because we're trying to figure out a couple little glitches. But I will get that done hopefully tonight. Um, so Rick the Muse, and also I've ordered another one from Dead Making Art. Dead Making Art has some cool shirts and merch available. And my buddy
Thank you,
Chad Rev
Davino.
Art over here, he's got some pretty dope merch available. And he used to do graphic design, one of the many talents that he had. And he got so sick and tired of people asking him about the AI program that he used that he quit doing it. But he's got some amazing art, and he's going to be dropping some of that over time too that'll be available
Yep.
on shirts. So if you've seen any of his paintings, if you've seen any of his work, you can get those on a t-shirt. All you got to do is go over to his spot. All that is available right now. The only thing that there's a glitch with is specifically the Gen Project t-shirts have a big, giant, enormous logo on the front. Here is one.
We're gonna dig
Here's
into
the
that
back.
tonight and
They look
hopefully
pretty
get
cool.
it fixed.
And then, but the front has the same logo on it, and it
It's
should have
huge.
like a pocket logo here.
It's supposed to be like
So
this.
So I put it on, and my wife was laughing. She was like, "I don't know if you're coming or going. I don't know which direction you're headed because the front and the back are the same." So anyway, we'll get that little bitty glitch sorted out. But all Chad Rev's art stuff is good to go. Make sure you go check it out. He's got a new T-shirt out. This is a spring edition, and I've also ordered an Eric the Airbrush artist shirt. I got an Eric the Airbrush artist shirt on the way. The reason I'm ordering the shirts personally is I'm going to try to wear them in my shop or when I do shows, trying to rep my folks. So anyway, Chad Rev Art, it's got all kinds of merch. You can get everything from tapestries to coffee mugs to baseball shirts to t-shirts to hoodies to sweatshirts, computer
Yep.
case covers, all of it.
All of it.
So
All of it.
if you're able to support the other artists on here, buy their merch. That helps them get more paint or more cut saw bits or more whatever.
Yeah.
And there's some more people that are going to have some stuff available coming soon too. But right now, Eric the Airbrush artist, Dead Making invitation from Mike. There's Mike right there. Let's go ahead and bring Mike up. Why not? What do you think? Let's make sure everything works out here.
Sure.
More
Thanks for that
costumes for
follow,
you.
too.
Yeah, more costumes for Rick. Hey, Mike, can you hear us?
I can hear you, bro. How you doing, man?
Man, as Seb would say, I am lovely. Our dude's son.
What's
Welcome
going
in,
on,
Mike.
fellas?
Welcome
What's up,
in.
Chad? How you doing, man?
Man, I don't
Excellent.
know if you did you catch any of the show? I know you're a busy dude. Were you able to hear any of it?
Dude, I've been ripping and running all the way up until this point. I got
No
to the
worries.
coffee.
We
I
even
called
brought the
Seb.
textbooks.
That's that.
All right, so we just did about a 40 minutes on manipulation as a lead in to your show. We
Nice.
talked about all kinds of different things. We talked about when you pull up the Google search on manipulation, about those 20 things that come up. We talked about
Yeah.
emotional intelligence, your financial situation being a factor, your health being a factor, your safety being a factor, there being cultural factors. We talked about there being positive and negative aspects of manipulation, and then we went through about 30 minutes of examples of TikTok manipulations. So there you are. You're all caught up, my friend. We've had some amazing artists pass through. Hey, Faye Ray, good to see you.
He was running a damn marathon.
He was running the marathon.
We talked about that. Your show talks about subjects like cognitive dissonance, toxic masculinity, self-victimization. We went into a little bit of that. So I hope we got the stage set for you. We're going to find out who this Mike Carter guy is right now. The other surprise that I have for y'all is we're going to hear a few songs. He is also a musician and a singer, and the dude is an athlete. The dude is a business owner for many years. He's an artist. He's a community leader, and he also lives just a few hours from me. So you'll see more from us in the future. This evening, you will be able to catch me again from the GAN Project on his show, the Manipulation Show on the Fire Pit. And the reason we don't get to be on each other's stuff very often is our shows are very similar in time, and me and Chad are always doing shit. So that's Mike Carter, y'all. I haven't given a whole lot of background on you, Mike, because, man, like I told you on the in our interview, Mike and I spoke for a few hours.
We did.
And this dude is on point. Telling you guys, it is worth your while to download Theory Radio. It doesn't cost anything. All Mike's shows are archived.
Free.
You can listen. You can listen to his show riding to work. You could listen to his show hanging out, taking a shower. So download Theory Radio and follow up with this guy right here. So he was born in the North. He was brought at a young age to the South. Me being from the deep South can tell you, before he even told me, that probably didn't go easy, and it didn't. You might notice Mike's complexion is a little different than ours, and sometimes that may cause a problem in Mike's life. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, too. Can't imagine that, not in the world we live in. But Mike has been kind enough. He's going to come out from behind the veil. He's going to drop some knowledge on us. He's going to share his story with us. And I would like to say personally, Mike, I have a lot of respect for you, man. And the reason that I have a lot of respect for you is being a male, being an African-American male, and stepping out front and talking about these issues. And I'm not sure who that is, but we're going to have to drop them back down. Oh wait, is that somebody with you, Mike?
That's Seb. Seb's gonna play music from the studio for you guys.
Okay, I got you. Cool. All right, got you. I'm glad I didn't drop him down then. He was about to get bounced.
He was about to get pushed to the side.
About to get put in timeout, Seb.
He was.
Right on. All right, cool. So, Mike, the thing about it is, man, is I have so much respect for you because you step out front and talk about these issues. And in our world as men, and I'll go even further to say in the world that you live in, that is even a more difficult conversation because there are some pretty ingrained stereotypes, generationally speaking, that you're fighting against. And so, man, I have mad respect for you for coming out front, for talking about these issues, for being such a straight-up guy, for sharing your story. And that's not an easy thing to do. And while you are here, we have your 6. When you leave out of here, we will have your 6. And like I said, you will see more coming from Mike and I down the road. In some months, you might even see me roaming around over in the Charlotte area or wherever he might be.
Yeah, it's coming.
So
it's coming.
We'll see what happens. But so Mike, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it. And
Absolutely,
I appreciate you inviting me onto your show this afternoon after our show today.
Oh yeah, that's a double honor, bro. To be able to be here, the way that you conduct the platform, you and Chad, it's a special space, and you know, like I know, how important that type of space is for me. Being able to be yourself, being able to share your story, um, being able to be judgment free and be who the hell you are without having to deal with any repercussions, especially in the immediate. It creates a space where people can open up, and that's how we grow. And I believe in that. I believe that, hell, if I'm growing, you're growing. If you're growing, Chad's growing. Five people touches 25. 25 touches 100. So let's
Absolutely.
let's move,
That
man. Thank you. Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me, and
that
thank you for coming through later on. But
Yes,
to
sir.
touch
Yes,
on what
sir.
you were talking about, yesterday, guys, Gin and I had a very, very extensive conversation. It was a very excited conversation, not just on the level of movement together, but more or less some of the things that came up and the way that they were discussed and dynamic from two separate sides of culture with being embraced, being able to so-called share your truth without somebody slighting the eye at you, right? That's not a we don't live in a world that's always conducive to that. You know, people getting their feelings because they think that's who they are. Pretty much.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
but yeah, I don't know what all transpired before I got here, so you can ask away on questions. Um,
Well,
I'm 39 years old. If you guys want to know in age, that's not that long here on the three-dimensional plane, I don't think. And I've seen a lot. I feel like these experiences that we get to see in life, I feel like are just, and I feel like they're to be shared. So
absolutely, sir. Well, a little. Give us just a little bit, kind of like you did when we talked the other day, man. I've got my notes here as far as your story. You know, your grandfather moving to North Carolina, him being a veteran, your grandma getting sick. Your
yeah,
mom, her situation with your father. So just kind of, can you walk us through from the beginning? Just tell us. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think telling your story um, is makes it even more amazing the way that you're moving, right? All the things that you've been through, the stuff
yeah,
that you've had to deal with, the fact that you still move with grace and love is incredible to me. And um, we
appreciate
all
that,
work
man.
on trying to learn about giving ourselves grace, about giving ourselves love, giving others some love. And I really respect the way you move in those spaces because knowing a little, I already knew. Like, see if I can put it this way: I can look at you and know some things, right? If that dude's an American, I can tell you some things that he's been through. That's all I need to do is look at you. Is that a fair statement? There are some
That's a
things I
fair
could glean
statement.
from that.
That's a
And
fair statement.
now, how far we go with that um, becomes whether how fair that is or not, right? How knowledgeable
That's
we
true.
are about what we're talking about, right? I might heap a whole bunch of stereotypes on you that don't play out, or I might heap a
Absolutely,
bunch of
absolutely.
I might heap a bunch of praise on you that doesn't play out. It works both ways,
That too.
right? It goes in both
That's right.
directions. But but your journey is so remarkable and so just it really is a story of perseverance and a story of integrity and a story of a man unwilling to waver. And oftentimes those aren't the good guys that are that way, right? And in this instance, the dude put on his cape and he uses his powers for good. And the thing about it is, the cape ain't magic. He made the cape. It's him. So, uh, dude, I
Well, if I
appreciate you
can make a
being
cape,
here.
now I can make a lot of things, but if I can make a cape, that might bring it full circle. Uh, man, I want to break down a little bit this way. This way we can dig into this some. For a short start, uh, I come from New York, so in New York, you grow up pretty fast, especially if you live in inner city. I'm from Queens, and at a young age, my family, a good part of my family, I call it migrating because there was so many of us at one time. We migrated south. This is how I ended up in North Carolina. Um, the prime cause for that shift was based on the relationship between my mother and my father. Even though my family's origin was from the city, my father himself was from Alabama, so he's from the South. So bloodline wise, I was blessed with a mix of North and South anyway. And but we'll get to that point. The shift in North Carolina came from around 80s and 90s, and if you know anything about the 80s and 90s, drugs were accessible, bro. It just is what it is. That's just the reality. And growing up in the inner city in that area in Queens, my parents they were in a situation where they found themselves around a lot of celebrities because this is where a lot of them came from. I don't really want to get much into naming, but my father was an architect at the time. He went to school for it. He started a business, became a contractor, and he did well for himself during that time. A couple of the people he grew up with that were celebrities, they were doing well at the same time. That generally means there was going to be some drugs. Long story short, this led to some abuse, a good bit of abuse. I'm being light about it. And mom just got to a point where she couldn't take it no more. And that's what it was. And she tried to kill him. And I got to witness this. And we were talking about this yesterday again about that being a pivotal turning point for me in my life as a child, that I kind of locked into becoming a man quick because of the nature of what it was.
Can I say this?
Yes, you can.
We're not talking about metaphorically speaking. We're talking about a weapon was pointed, the apparatus that makes that weapon work was pulled, and it went click instead of bang. That's how close we're talking.
Facts.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, facts. That's exactly what it was. I fortunately and unfortunately, I got to witness it, and the gun jammed. So within that, I was reactive, and being reactive at that moment, it told me something about myself, and it told me that I had a switch. It told me that I had a point of when shit gets real, I look at things a little bit differently. I react a little bit differently. I don't. There's not really a freak out. There's okay. There's a solution here. So what needs to be done? And at that moment when that happened, my first reaction was to call. I called my grandfather for help, and my second nature after that was to approach, because I had already settled it in my mind that both of their lives were over, and that was just it. So I had to do this on my own. So at that point, and there was a lot of other things, a lot of other little micro stories that led up before that, that that ultimately, I would say, started shifting my mind frame at a young age. That specific point, though, I wouldn't say I feel like it robbed me of childhood, but it kind of caused me or forced me to put childhood aside. So
Right. Wow.
Grandpa shows up. He shows up out of nowhere. Grandpa lived, not grandpa living. He lived in Queens at the time as well, but he owned a shop in Brooklyn. He came from his shop that night, and he got there quick. He got there very quick. That was the last night that I saw my father as a kid, and then I didn't see him again until I was 20, 21 or 22. After that, so it had been a good almost decade. In between there, we did move south because my granddad and my grandmother sold their store and they retired south, so it made sense. And we got a big family, so that was how I ended up in the Charlotte area, which was a huge culture shock. You know, coming here and being used to just going downstairs and going to the store to get what's needed at the corner store or the local bodega. Here, you couldn't even get on a train or a bus to go nowhere. It was confined. It was quiet.
Yep.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
He said,
Look,
I love it.
I'm gonna be,
Quiet.
I'm for real, man. I'm gonna be real with you. Like I love aspects of the country. Man, the country has taught me how to drive any and everything. I can cut whatever wood you want cut. I
Yep,
can
me
do
too.
whatever you want done, and it comes from
This
being
mother
here.
is spitting.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yep.
where it comes from. It literally gave me the best of both worlds. Like, you know, I would say, and I shared this with Gen yesterday, in the contrast of South and North. I would say that I learned personally, and you guys can disagree if this is how you feel about it. Doesn't matter. Coffee makes me poop. Might make you poop too. But up north, in New York specifically, I learned that people are kind, but they're not nice. And in the South, I learned that people are nice, but they're not kind. And holding on to that at a young age really, really, really helped me to progress when we made the shift to the South because I stayed genuine in that shift. And in my attempt with that of making friends, we did move from there straight to the projects because that was what my mom could afford on her own. So it was immediate at a young age to be, I call it a confine, to be in that confine. Um, so knowing how to navigate specific street things from being a child in the city, it made it a little bit easier for me to sift through stuff that didn't seem mature as a kid in the South. But it also was hard to gain friends because we just didn't speak the same language at that point in time. And I was being genuine coming from a place of where if I don't like you, Chad, and you right here, and I don't like you, we can still be right here, and I don't have to act like I like you. I can love you, but I ain't got to damn like you, and you know I don't like you. You stay over there, I'm gonna stay right here. We good, right? We good,
Right.
and that's the respect we hold. I respect that. If I see you do something commendable, I'll say it, cool, but it's
Sure.
still stay where the hell you at, right?
Right.
It wasn't like that when I moved here, so I had to learn a different game. I had to learn
Right.
a different way of living, and coming from some of the stuff that I had just seen and trying to figure out and navigate at that point in time, it was a little complicated, you know. And Gen knows what I'm talking about when you haven't had that tight bond with a male figure as a young man, you know, it can prove to be very detrimental on how you move. You can miss a lot of points with people when they're trying to manipulate or
Right.
when there's a hidden motive or agenda, you can miss points. So I've platform wise and bringing this back around, you know, I tell you these things because I've really focused on creating an energy that allows people to be comfortable no matter what the situation is, whether it's heated, whether it's not heated,
Word.
or whatever it is. I want people to be able to be themselves. And creating this has put me in some shit before. It's put
It
me in some
will.
situations where
Yeah.
people probably said some things to me they shouldn't have said to me, or yeah, yeah. But it's also
Where they
what
would
they
have got
do.
their chin checked in actual space and time back in the
Right.
day. Now we try to move differently.
Yeah, like Big Mama Lake says,
I
she
feel
said,
you,
raised
man.
in the South and had to learn that. It was
I'm
real.
sorry
Like
for
it was real
interrupting.
when,
Could y'all hear this?
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Okay.
we can hear
Yes.
I
you.
just need to make sure it be so when I play your song, it's all lovely.
Can, can,
Okay,
can you
I'm out.
just ask that same question again with that buttery voice? No, no, no. Come back with that buttery voice. Bring it back over here.
I'm back. I'm back. Hi.
Oh, Seb.
So I just want to make sure it's working. You good? I was trying to
Yes.
find a
Oh,
space in there
Seb.
I was trying to find a space in there so I can test it. But I think we're good.
We
Yeah.
appreciate you. I'm
Okay.
really
Y'all hear
glad I
that
didn't
voice?
throw you out
Appreciate you
now.
for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw
He was
that.
about, yo, he was about to let you go quick. He started blinking too. It was over. You had to go.
Y'all,
Hey, man, I
y'all
try
hear
to
that?
protect my guest.
Hey,
100%.
Y'all hear that voice?
I
Yep.
gotcha.
Wait. Shh, shh. Listen. Y'all hear that voice?
I can hear it. It's mine. I hear it all day,
You
every day.
you you ask them why they haven't downloaded the app in that voice, Seb.
Ex-
Do it right now,
okay.
Seb.
What I really need to know for all of you out there, why haven't you downloaded the Theoria radio app? If you don't have it, go get it right now. You're going to love it.
Right now.
Gen's on there,
Not now,
Mike's
but
on
right now.
there.
I'm on there.
I even sprinkle on there sometimes.
He's free.
Chad's on it.
Dude, look, when I was in
And Chad
college,
and
this
Chad's on
girl
there.
told me that sprinkling, that's what girls do when they fart. I don't know if it's true, but in college, this girl told me, we don't fart, we sprinkle. But she was lit, so maybe I don't know if that was
That
true.
I
We
think
don't
just
that, I
fart,
got
we
think
some-
that might have been
sprinkle.
a false manipulation. I
I
believe
think
she was falsely trying to manipulate you.
I think you need to have the same talk with that girl that I had with my child when she was teeny tiny. If you can see it, that is not a fart. So if it's a sprinkle, no. No. If you can see
We
it,
get
I
it's
know
in
what
not a
that
depth here,
fart.
ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, and I summoned Sir Giggle Farts as I said that. That's
Right.
the handle of a
Good
friend of
time.
mine in here right now.
Giggle farts. I've seen giggle farts around. You don't forget that name.
Nah.
We
But
summoned
yeah,
him.
man,
That's the cool
you
stuff.
know,
Though.
digging into the story and what it has created for my life and the circle of people that it continuously brings around me is some people out of the same cloth. And what I've learned about that cloth is that cloth is not always comprised up of threads that were made from the same cotton ball that you came from. And
Woo!
yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
That got lots of meanings if you come
Message.
from where I'm from. Oh,
That sounded like a
love
song again. He was about to break out into a hit.
yeah, dude, you might need to write that, man. You might need to write that right now. Here, man,
Somebody
take this
recorded
pad
it.
and paper and write that shit.
Put it down. You're crazy.
Write that shit down, man.
Yeah, man. And that just sprung a lot. That sprung a lot. So I spent a lot of my youth on my own, really. When there was buildups at that point in time with people, generally there was quick indifference, and I noticed that was even around me being as genuine as I could be, no matter what it led to. I do remember that building some of my tightest relationships when I did make that transition, it spawned out of that though. You know, building respect by having to defend myself. Some of my best friends at that point came from it because of it. And it stayed that way with those from that point. And I always wanted to be almost like not really a devil's advocate of things, more more in rebuttal. I've always wanted to be in rebuttal because I feel there's broad spectrums to thinking. So I remember catching myself this one time, right? And this was when we first moved to North Carolina. We moved to the projects, literally one way in, one way out. Yeah, yeah, they got your ass. One way in, one way out. That's it. You can't go nowhere if you do something wrong. And it was set up by courts. There was a first court, a second court, and a third court, and the buildings are shaped like a U. It literally looks like a private prison now that I think about it. And I lived on the first court all the way in the back building at the back. And this one kid, it had to be like, I don't know, maybe fifth grade. It was around when we first came around. This one kid, and we friends to this day, he kept trying me, kept trying me, kept trying me. Man, you talk funny, you talk funny, you talk, say this, you talk funny. I'm like, well, I just pronounce my shit. Like I say
Right.
the words right. I don't even understand what you're saying. So here we
I
are.
just pronounced my shit.
Yeah, like we in a full-blown argument, right? But at the same time, I'm trying to make friends, so I'm being respectful, but there ain't no respect there. I'm being tested, and I get it. Where I come from, that happens early. You understand it, you respect it, and you can play the game. And because I come from Queens, them guys gonna play the game. You're not gonna just fold. I don't care if it's the weakest guy, small guy, whatever. He is not going to just fold, because once they see that on the block, it's fair game, and you know that. Well, he propositions me, y'all. He's like, look, when we get back to the neighborhood, I bet you won't come to my house and blah, blah, it's going down. So I knew I had to go. I knew I was surrounded by everybody that I just don't know, but I went and we fought, and I had to work his ass. And after I worked him, we dapped each other up. He told me he was tired. I told him I was tired. And that weekend, I spent the night at his house. And I respect
That's how it worked, man. That's how it worked.
Those days are long
Sometimes.
gone, right? They long gone, right? Man.
Oh, man.
So to this day, I got mad respect for this guy. Mad respect for everything that he does and what he's trying to do from that point. So what I'm getting at is that some things have to be meted. Some relationships have to be meted. Some lives have to be meted. Just like a good bread, the dough has to have the hell beat out of it sometimes just for it to rise the right way, or it has to be touched a certain way. A certain bread may have to be caressed a certain way with a different temperature. And this is what it takes. I believe the stories are just. So, and I was telling again yesterday in the interview that what I mean by I believe the stories are just, I took this leadership course some time back, and the whole point of this course, when they lock you in this room with a bunch of people and you're there for 55 million hours and everybody stinks, but you're still there, and they take your phone. Yeah, that sounds nuts, man. I'm kind of nuts. So what I was telling him was the whole point of this leadership course was to get you to accept the story. Accept the story, allow the story, release the story, because the story is just. Even the ugliest of experiences have to be experienced for there to be a different experience. And I know that's very vague to say, because some of the experiences we see here as human beings are harsh. And I can relate to that. But the story is just, and the sooner you can allow the story to be what it is, it can't be you in the present now. You couldn't be anything other than the present now anyway. I can't be who I was 2 minutes ago. It's just impossible.
Yes,
so that means
linear
that I have
time.
to be
Right.
different.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
And
yeah,
you know,
I feel like I'm rambling. I'm used to being on the other
no,
side
man,
of
No.
things
you're good
and
here.
paying
And
attention.
let me make this point: is that what you're saying is a beautiful thing, man. And I'm going to take it a step further and disagree with me here if you'd like. But you know,
I disagree with you already.
you right on. Your father was abusive, right? Your grandfather moved to North Carolina. You could argue some things made that happen, but the fact that your father, these things are cyclical, right? We know this. We know that a lot of this kind of stuff is cyclical. The negative cultural aspects of the South, there are positive aspects too. The negative cultural aspects of the
Absolutely.
North, the positive too. But these things are cyclical in this way. Your father was abusive, whether it was drugs or whatever the hell it was, to me is irrelevant. The fact of the matter was the man was abusive to his wife and his child and others. And that very well may be part of a cycle. And the thing about it is that you're doing is you are breaking that cycle. You are by coming out talking. I mean, I'm assuming you don't you know I don't have any way of knowing. I'm not in your home, but by the way you move, by the way you talk, by the things that you are interested in, by the places that you spend your emotional time and energy, I make the assessment that you are doing what you can to break that cycle. And
Absolutely.
here's the beautiful thing about that: you are breaking the cycle by telling the story of the cycle. You, you dig what I'm saying? You are you are the walking,
I
talking
dig it.
example of how you are the walking, talking example of how to break that cycle. And though here there's some similarities, man. I was a little kid, had burry hair, freckles, was little tiny. I got my ass kicked every day, just about. Had to move around a lot. I was with one grandparent or an uncle or another grandparent, and those were all in different neighborhoods, all in different spaces. Some in the country, some in the city, and there were different rules. And there's the kids in all the variety of neighborhoods would test you. That's how it worked, right? And so, like you were saying, you either stood up for yourself or you got worked daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for me, I I stood up for myself, but it was always the losing end until I got to about 16, 17, or 18. And then suddenly, by the time I graduated from high school, I'm, a little bigger guy and a little more capable. And then I go into service, and now I'm a much bigger guy and much more capable. And suddenly I don't have those problems anymore. And then there's another check you got to have, right? Because you can go overboard with that, right? Now all of a sudden
You're
you find
absolutely
yourself
right.
wanting to check chins that don't deserve to be checked, right?
You're absolutely
So
right.
you end up on the other side of things where you're now the guy doing the shit that you shouldn't be doing. And
You're
that
right.
balance of trying to find where that place is. Now, unfortunately, we've both been rewarded in our lives with violence, right? Violence is what
Yeah,
we use to
that's
protect
one way to
ourselves,
say it.
and violence is how we were able to maintain our status in whatever community.
Right.
And you could argue that violence, or what Mike and Chad and I are trying to step away from, or trying to find better ways to do things, or trying to lead a different path. Because truthfully speaking, we both come from violent worlds in a lot of ways.
We do.
Completely different rules, completely different people involved, but there's a lot of similarities. It all had to do with testing, and it all had to do with manipulation, and it all had to do with status and all that kind of thing within a community.
Dude. Dude, I think that the like the beginning point of it really just starts in emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. You know, ultimately people just they go through these experiences, and the reason I say it's important to be able to allow the story and accept the story so that it can be just is because true control is really no control. And I've said this many times. People who are chiming in, they've heard me say it. I feel like real control. Like true control is knowing that you have no control whatsoever. So it all leads to an acceptance. It all leads to an allowance for the road to do what it needs to do in your life, so that this way you can be focused on it. And when that's the case, you know, the dynamic of overthinking, the dynamic of anxiety, and what we put ourselves through, it becomes exactly that. It becomes, sorry about that. It becomes exactly that. It becomes a perpetuated cycle. So this is why I do the topics that I do on the fire pit. I do the topics on the fire pit mainly in this conjunction, if they can be, so that this way we see it and how it does unfold and how it does break down. Minimal emotional intelligence, emotional awareness about what's going on around you, where you are they governing you? Because truly, emotions are not the being. You are being in the emotion at that time. Therefore, at some point, you have to break it down for it to be a choice for you. There has to be a choice value factor in that for you. So
Right.
when you look at it that way, now it becomes a piece of, uh, uh, again, hearing the word acceptance, it becomes a piece of accountability on yourself. And maybe others might be pointing a finger at you for accountability on something. Maybe others might be labeling you. Maybe others have labeled you part of the story, right? In the allowance of the road, you release it. And as you release it, you start to see, well, that ain't who I'm, that's not who I am. I'm not this. Or you can analyze, well, they said I was being this way, but I didn't mean it that way. Okay, well, I don't have to fight that. I can allow it to be what it is, because the story is just maybe there's something that they got to work out with them. You don't know. Or it could be a
Yes.
repetitive cycle for you. Maybe there's something you got to work out with you. But at the end of the day, if it weren't for the ugliness of the story, then it wouldn't be what it is. When I
Right.
when I I don't know would be the right word, but would it be like reconvene when I came back to with my father in relationship, right? And I jumped here, but it's all in conjunction. When I came back to the relationship with my father, I was in my 30s by this point in time. I had seen him in my early 20s a cousin's wedding, and he was estranged. He didn't want to come really because I think he feared that we had issues, and I'm good. I was good, but he wasn't. Cool. The next time I seen him after that, that was 21, 22. Next time I seen him after that, I think I was 30, 34 or 35. I got a call, and he was on his deathbed. And I had to go because I am the only one who could go to sign the papers for decisions to be made other than me. So I was technically going to sign papers for my aunt to be able to be the decision maker. So I had no choice. They told me. So I went. So I went, and yeah, I went. I stayed there for 3 days in the hospital with him. And the story, right? I had to release the story. When I got there, he wasn't really coherent. Like, he was drugged up and everything. His body was poisoning itself. And his intestinal tract was eating it. It's just nasty. It was eating itself. So it was a whole situation, right?
Take
And
take a
he knew I
breath.
came in. Like, he knew I came in, right? I came in. He knew I came in. And I feel like he knew who I was at that point in time, but he was still in, he was just so messed up. It was what it was. So I started talking to him like normal, because that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to be myself regardless. Don't matter who you are. I'm going to be myself. So I started talking to him like norm, and he ain't responding really, right? I spend a night. The next day, dude wakes up talking. And we had some conversations, never went deep in nothing, just real simple stuff on the surface, what's going on with the hospital and health. The doctor told me what was up. I decided I'm not signing any papers. I need to be there. And what told me that I needed to be there, and again, accepting and allowing and releasing the story, what told me that I needed to be there was I realized something just on a primitive level, is that people are put here for specific reasons. Like, some people are put here for a purpose, some people are here on purpose, and there's a significant difference in that. This is one of the best things that this man ever told me, because he hadn't had the opportunity to tell me much. Some people are here for a purpose and some people are here on purpose. And something I realized when I was looking at him on the bed was that he doesn't have the strength nor the power as a man, as a human being, to have the conversation that needs to be had for us to progress past this, what happened. But I do, right? My experiences also show me that there's things that he has the power to dive into that I don't. This is why Source gives us relationships for balance from multiple different areas and different times in our life. This is why there's relationships for balance. At that point in time, to create the balance, I had to have the hard convo. I had to break the ice. I had to be the one to do so because that man wasn't strong enough to. I say all of this to say, if I was holding on to something, if I couldn't allow it, right? I personally believe that he may not be the man that I talk to on the phone every week now. Every week now we talk. Once or twice a year we visit. And I've learned a lot about myself because I released the story. And that was something I had to do on my own. I don't know how other people see it, but I'm going to say this real quick. Moms, single, whatever you are, if you got children out there with a man and you don't understand some of the things that they have to deal with not having that man in their life, there are reasons sometimes, but if you don't understand, you're probably not going to understand, and that's cool. Especially if you've experienced yourself not having a parent. There's some things that you're not going to, and that's a road that they're gonna have to cross themselves. And it might be this is what has to happen for their story. And that may not be a favorable viewpoint, but I haven't met many people who, if that was the case, they didn't have to commence that relationship later in life themselves. And I feel like that generally is the best way because now that relationship isn't tainted. So I had to thank my father. One, for I'm here. Two, if it wasn't for the things that happened, then I couldn't be who the hell I am. And I had to tell him straight like that. So maybe the story could have been different, but I can't live by that. I have to live by this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have many experiences here along the lines of these things. And ultimately, I hope for them to just continue to create balance and enlightenment, not just in my life, but in other people's lives, based on the way that I walk. I got people that love me, I got people that hate me. All in all, what they eat don't make me shit.
That's true. That's very true. Well, here's the thing too, man, is I think part of that journey is also you have found a way to not be vindictive or vengeful in your journey, in your path. You were very self-reflective, and you were talking about emotional awareness. I would argue that there's this thing called situational awareness, and that is understanding your surroundings, your environment, whatever that may include. And I'm kind of a situational awareness type guy because it incorporates all of the emotional stuff, all of it. It's like an all-encompassing thing for me.
Absolutely.
And you know, the thing about it is Mike mentioned earlier that, you know, if you're a mom and you're trying to figure out what your man's going through on some instance or another, and he said that it's okay if you don't understand because you might not understand, and I agree with that completely. And that takes a whole nother level of trust in a relationship. But
It
um,
does.
the thing that I would like to highlight there is what he's advocating. I believe though is not to allow man to just act any kind of way, but to allow an understanding that you may not completely understand what his motivations are or why he does what he does. That line of communication being open will help that. But he also, I think, isn't saying that um, you know, because he's trying to break the cycle, he isn't making the argument that because his upbringing was tough, or because my upbringing was tough, or because Chad's upbringing was tough, you should treat us a certain kind of way. Just like I don't
Right.
feel like military service means you should be treated any special kind of way. I served active duty and I served active reserves. I got the medals, all the awards, all that kind of thing, but I volunteered for that service. So if I now walk around acting like I should get special attention because I did what I said I would do in the first damn place, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, that's not to say that people shouldn't be honored for their sacrifices, and I get that. But
Right.
you know, I know people that spent 4 years in the '80s in Phoenix drunk, and now they wear veteran hat around all the time, like they, you know, were in Vietnam for 4 years.
Don't you do it. Don't you
So,
do it. We talked about
so,
this
so what I,
yesterday. Don't you do it.
so what I'm trying to say is, you know, you seem to have a governor on things, right? Whereas, like I used the example, you know, you got a dude that was in Phoenix for 4 years in the '80s, you know, drunk most of the time, and you know, they think that their voice should be more important because it has that veteran thing in front of it. And the truth of the matter is that's voluntary service. Why are you asking
It
for
is.
extras? It's voluntary service. So why should you be treated any differently than anybody else when you get back? Now I get there are some legit answers to that question, but it's still a legitimate question. If you volunteered and you did what you said you were volunteering to do, why are we supposed to treat you so differently? So
You're right.
that's a that's a part of breaking cycles, though, right? There's just another
It
example.
is.
I am fifth generation. I'm the fifth generation of males in my family in a row to serve overseas in a time of war. You know why that
Mm,
is? We weren't rich folks. There's another example.
mm.
Poor folks fight the wars for the rich folks, right? Situational
Ooh.
awareness, understanding what is going on in the micro and the macro. So please tune in to my man Mike Carter. He's talking about some things on some levels, on some deep levels, and there is you you know what Mike is saying, and I think, and with the example that I'm using, what I'm trying to say is, you know, don't use the experiences that you've been through in your life to hurt other people. Use the hurtful experiences you've been through in your life to help other people, like Mike does, like Chad does, right? Chad been through cancer a few times.
Like
He's got a
Gim
kidney
does.
transplant.
Sheesh.
He's been through some stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He didn't volunteer for that. He didn't sign on any line. He never got a paycheck for that. He never got any promotions.
We're still doing
Right?
it.
How'd that help your bank account, Chad? I'm sure you made tons of money by having cancer, right? I'm sure getting a kidney transplant was very profitable for you, right? I'm being sarcastic here,
Oh,
folks.
extremely.
Able to pick up on something.
Yeah.
It made him
Right?
wealthy spiritually.
It
It
made
did.
me wealthy
It
as a
did.
person.
There we
It's
go.
the way
Sure,
he stroked the
Seb.
beard.
It made him wealthy as a man, as a human
That's
being.
right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Seb, for connecting that circle. So since Seb just spoke up in that buttery voice, Mike, of the selections of songs that you have for us tonight, would one of them be appropriate right about now?
Hell, again, they all would be appropriate, but I'm only going to give you a little bit of it because I've been instructed by management team that less is more.
Okay.
Sure is.
So, just to break a
Hey,
little
this
bit
is-
down, a few things on this about me. I am a hip hop artist. That is kind of that's not in the forefront right now because we have been working on the show. I am self-employed. I do construction and several other things. I grind and I hustle. That not in a negative light. So don't
what's
take
up.
that wrong. I'm a head football coach for a 13U football team. It's Wolfpack United in North Carolina. We are very, very good, and we're doing a lot of big things there. So we've been busy. We've been mentoring. We've been coaching and all that good stuff. So I try to base what I do around that, whether it be the show, whether it be a phone call with anybody, whether it be my music. So that part said, Seb's gonna drop a couple songs for y'all to listen to, and I'm gonna go refill my coffee while that's going on.
Can we say where your wife is from?
Oh, that's Scotland.
Dude's wife was from Scotland. I was talking about context earlier, situational awareness. This brother married a lady from Scotland. Talking about
That's
cultural
lovely.
differences.
It kind of happened that way. That's a whole story in itself that would have to be broken down. Plenty of that.
That's amazing.
So, am I just going random here? What are we playing first?
Let's start with Manhood, man.
Manhood. That's
I
one of my
think
top.
that's the best thing
Manhood
for
is
this.
like one of the first
I'll
tracks
let you
I've
give it
heard
an
of my
intro.
headphones.
Oh, I'll let you give it an intro. I'm gonna refill his
I'm
coffee. It's low,
malfunctioning.
man. That ain't gonna work.
Okay.
I love that mug.
Oh, baby, please come back to me.
Palpitations in my heart, she up the Nina to a stone. This where my manhood starts. Though I was barely double digits when I looked him in his eyes and never cried or played hard. Yeah, you see when crack was his guard, she took lashes for that passion that she finna pull his car. Hey, these memories we can't escape. One tear glazed her cheek, she mushed that barrel in his face like. I bet that next move you make might wipe you out of this place, right? It's about to be your last night. Well, you see, she was sick of beatings and him, he needed treatment, so I picked up pins because of needles. Yeah, I can't help the way I is. Ever since the age 10, I've been a man about my business. So tell me what being a kid is. Product of that fatherless youth. 80% men. Yeah. Cause this is for my brothers, this is for my sisters. Steady on that grizzly, don't let this life get you. Come on. Cause this is for my brothers, this is for my sisters. Steady on that grind, don't let this life get you. Yeah. Urkel shirt and black backpack. We hopped the Amtrak, the Cackalack Queens. I holler back. Another single mother to the projects, trying to raise a man, but truly, bruh, that ain't her concept. Yup. Again, the system had a prospect. Michael Earl Carter, now father, now husband. Man, all I know, my road full of potholes, dope fiends, lost souls, lady friends with plenty more. Still I was the press show, trying to fill a black hole. Hope a couple splits would gon' lift me to the next row. Evil at the front, the most high been at my back though. Though the system predicated death, I'm stepping life roll. Tell me this how life goes, success is not a typo. Motivated vision, it was written, I'm a light bulb. I might go to hell and back, my focus still in hell attack. In fact, I wouldn't be the man I is without a hellish past. Cause this is for my brothers, this is for my sisters. Steady on that grizzly, don't let this life get you. Come on. Cause this is for my brothers, this is for my sisters.
Mike Carter, Manhood, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't know he was a hip hop artist too, did you? How about that?
Damn, man.
Yes. How about that?
I
Lady
didn't do that the
Shines,
way I
see
wanted
you.
to because it would have hurt everybody's ears.
I appreciate that.
So, Mike, tell us a little
Yes,
bit about
sir.
that song, man.
So
Please.
if you chimed in on that song pretty tight, it tells a lot of story. It tells that shift. It tells the shift from New York to North Carolina. It tells the mentality that it put me in. It tells the state of where things are to a degree. It dives a little bit into basically what everybody is dealing with. You know, no matter what the struggle is, no matter what you're seeing, no matter what you're going through, you still got to stay the course. You really don't have no choice. It literally is what it is at that point in time. So something
Message.
that I utilize with the boys playing football, because I spend a lot of my life within that and work. Something I utilize with them that's real, that I heard from a good friend of mine. He put it one way and I flipped it for them. But you know, certain things don't care about what needs to be done or what's going on in your life or somebody else's life around you. They just really care about living. They care about being done. So I would tell the boys, hey, football doesn't care about you being sick. It doesn't care about whether you train or not train. It doesn't care about none of that. It only cares about being played. It cares about touchdowns. It cares about being alive at that moment. And that's that.
Perfectly
So
said.
I try to utilize that daily. Once I held on to that. That actually, the way that it was broken down actually came from Seb in another situation. And we talked about it and we were like, yo, you apply this to everything and it works. You know, some situations, they need to be revamped, whether that be a friendship, whether that be marriage, whether that be whatever, they need to be revamped. But those things only care about being lived. They don't care about the circumstances. So I apply that to what I do. And that's where it is with the music. So I don't want to get into rambling much because we running out of time and we do have the show coming up soon. But I'm gonna have Sev play one more song for y'all.
I will
for
do
y'all to
that.
check
Let
out.
me say this. Let me say this real quick, Seb, about the comment he just made, which is you were talking about that transition and the story being told in the music is a way to help you kind of release that. And there is another example of a positive manifestation or a positive manipulation of your environment or your situation. So the topic of manipulation runs through and through, and it gives this. It also gives this this light. Here's a man who's trying to teach young men, and he's trying to teach them a different way, and he's trying to teach them the right way, and those things are different from everybody because I happen to know that he was a collegiate athlete, and the story that he was just telling about football not caring about the individual player, the other side of that story is he was a linebacker. Linebackers care about hits. Linebackers care about laying you out, right? So if the linebacker is telling you a story about football, that's going to be a different version of the story of football than if you're a wide receiver. Wide receivers are about catching balls and making touchdowns. Linebackers and free safeties are about knocking receivers out. So perspective matters. And if you're a wide receiver running across the middle to try to catch a pass, and this man right here is roaming around the middle of the field, and I'm roaming about back there at the safety position, if you come across that middle, you're going to get lit up if they throw you the ball. Them's the rules. Those rules.
That's all they care about. That's all they care
There's context. Football don't care, right? So you better understand your context and you better understand your role. Because if you go wandering across the middle, that middle linebacker might look you up. And Mike Carter is just your dude to do that. Go ahead, Sam.
This guy.
I was on the swim.
Yeah, he said that. He said it.
Sam was on the swim team.
He said it. He said it.
Hey, that takes endurance. That takes endurance.
It does.
That's a whole nother set of skills.
Exactly. What are we playing, Mike? Trap game?
Ooh. Trap game would be nice. You have several, don't you?
Yeah, tell them what trap game is about before we move it on.
Trap game.
No worries,
Trap game
Tiffany.
is really.
Thank you.
It's really something that came about some time back when I did a lot of shows at that point and was traveling, and I learned real quick that a lot of people talk about stuff that they really ain't about, and you have to live by code. Where I come from, you live by that code. If I'm for you, I'm for you. If I'm with you, I'm with you, and that's how it go. And we don't waver. If I say this to the team, I say this to y'all, I say this to this team, like if you do something stupid and we got a situation, I'm gonna shoot first and ask questions later. But that's us. At the end of that, I'm gonna tell you how stupid it was, and you better not get pissed because I'm allowed to do that. Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yep.
That's what trap game is about. Be who you gonna be.
Okay.
Roll with who you gonna roll with. Do what you gonna do, but don't lie. Don't be trapping people with that.
We got you.
Tune into the Gin Project.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the studio with the interviews is where I like to listen.
Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hosted by Gin.
Everybody keep yapping about what they cash game like. Everybody keep lying about how they trap game tight. Listening, but I ain't hearing no truth, babe. Trust it, I'ma stay grinding, gon' do you, man. Everybody keep yapping about what they cash game like. Everybody keep lying about how they trap game tight. Listening, but I ain't hearing no truth, babe. If I got the work, then you got the work. That is the code. Loyalty over the ignorance, the way that I roll. All of my soldiers be willing, we're feeling whenever for winning. Watch how you cowards catch feelings. My henchmen commencing the mission. Supreme envision, transforming the game like I've been in the kitchen. The government crooked, officials is booking, the system is shooken. Conspiracy pays when blood is the bond, take that to the grave. People get played, cause honor is never the motive of lanes. Life a series, a scenario, some of us carry them, others will harbor the scars. Millennium bars, landing like gravity hard, just soaking the stamina. God beheading you snakes, suggest that you stay out my way if you wanna stay one with your brain. This what it take if you wanna win in this place. Eastwood in the trenches, bang bang. Capital gain, this game by the blood of the slain. I'm saying my nigga bang bang. Everybody keep yapping about what they cash game like. Everybody keep lying about how they trap game tight. Listening, but I ain't hearing no truth, baby. Trust it, I'ma stay grinding, gon' do you, man. You know it. Everybody keep yapping about what they cash game like. Everybody keep lying about how they trap game tight. Listening, but I ain't hearing no truth, baby. Trust it, I'ma stay grinding, gon' do you, man. This is a game for the grown girls. Don't get entangled in crossfire. I am the real that the streets have been waiting on. I will not cease to repeat fire. Releasing the beast when the beat fire. How could I cease to release fire? I don't compete, I just put in the work, then I go out and win. It's repeat time. I just get stronger by the line. One rapper closer with each rhyme. This is a feast like it's eat time. Got a fork and a knife at the studio, life in the gargle, you shrimps like I need iron. Dine in the booth, I recline in the booth, read my mind in the booth, and it's peace signs. Ghosts, shoot time, like a trip to the mall where I know y'all record at. Them balls was there before you thought that. Baby mama C-class, better take that back. Y'all can have rap back, I don't need that. Y'all ain't rap too tight, let me take that. Con City, South Queens, where I bake that. Rose up like geese when the heat hit. I ain't never broke in, brother, keep fit. Y'all talk good game, don't play shh. Throw it up for the future, we here. Everybody keep yapping about what they cash game like. Everybody keep lying about how they trap game tight. Listening, but I ain't hearing no truth, baby. Trust it, I'ma stay grinding, gon' do you, man. Everybody keep yapping about what they cash game like. Everybody keep lying about how they trap game tight. Listening, but I ain't hearing no truth, baby. Trust it, I'ma stay grinding, gon' do you, man. Trust it, I'ma stay grinding, gon' do you, man. You, man. Everybody keep yapping about you, man. Everybody keep yapping about you, man.
Everybody keep yapping about they cash game like. Yep. Oh, y'all can hear me. Sorry. Let me get off
That buttery boy, that butter. He brought that butter out. Mike!
Appreciate that.
My God.
Appreciate that.
Dropping it, dude.
Yeah.
Look,
Appreciate that.
man. Look, man. We got 11 minutes left, and I'm down with playing another one if you think you got time. If not, if you need to jet on out, do what you got to do, man.
What else you got over there, Seb? You got more respect over there.
You got one you can play us out with.
Okay.
We're going to let it finish, though. We're going to let it finish.
Let me go ahead and find it.
We're going to let it finish.
Both those songs are in rotation on Theory Radio app for those of you who wants to hear it again. And one of them is in the top 10, so you can go and play it on demand.
There you go.
And vote.
Go get the Theory Radio app
do your
right
vote.
now.
Go and vote.
TheoryRadio.com vote.
Mike, that shit is fire,
Tuesday.
dude.
I
Wow.
appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it.
Tuesday's 9.
I don't know if I told you, but before I surfaced as Chad Rev Art, I was Chad Rev the musician and lyricist, and I toured all over my entire adult life. That's what I did. And then I retired, moved to the country, and I resurfaced as an artist, doing this kind of stuff.
That's big coming from you then, for sure.
Dude.
I have Chase.
Thank you. Oh yeah, more respect.
It's
That's
fire,
me
y'all.
featuring Chase.
Oh, that's
This
what
song,
it's
yeah, this song right here was done, and it's crazy. We did it on the spot in the studio. This song was done in 2 hours. There was like 8 people in the studio that he's about to play, and I was very proud of how it came out.
He was.
Thank you for being on the show.
2 hours?
You're amazing.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was wild. It was a wild scenario, but I feel like with that artistry, when you've got people who are professional in the room and you push each other and the energy is there, dude, it just comes out. It comes out, man.
All right, Carter, ladies and gentlemen. One more song. Then he's got a show coming on in 9 minutes. The Fire Pit. Your boy The Gin
right.
Project
Let's
is going to
light it
be there
up.
as one of the guests. Seb Italo's going to be there. So if he has
Be
to
there.
jet during this song or whatever, y'all meet him up. Appreciate you being here, man. It was my honor, sir.
Mike,
Hey,
thank
you
you
for
man.
having me.
God,
Thank y'all.
thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And I want to be sure that y'all check into
Tune into the Gin Project.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the studio with the interviews is what I like to listen to.
Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Thank
Hosted
you,
by
Seb.
Gin.
Thank you, man. You're your family. Yeah.
Something new.
Enjoy that.
Big fella Faith Studios in the building. Pluggo. Chase. Carter. Feeling hella ghost. Pop up on that next level teleport. Relish thoughts of unlimited riches. Telling stories to my shorties about winning. This how you get it, huh? I just see the painted picture very vivid. Greatness is a vision, I give you the mission. When everything residual, what is commission? Push it to the limit, hell is opposition. I've been whipping up that chemical, my brain a kitchen. Federalists took my tone of good, that thing a itching. Sick of niggas pitching lies, plenty pun intended. See me swinging for the fences, they on high defenses. Because I'm bred to do business, man, they jealousy twitching. 5 cases that's pending, headed law is the witness. I'm just trying to rise from the dust. When you're headed to the top, keep your eyes on the clutch. So I ball. I swear to y'all, that's all that I know. Feel like it's my time, y'all, it's all in my glow. You know.
More money, more power and respect. Getting more money, that's always the best. Please, the streets be calling me, but I'm coming home to you, baby. But after that, girl, we can chill. I'm back on the deck, I got bills.
come on over to the fire pit, people.
That's messed up.
Go.
But perfect. Messed up, but perfect. Guys, it's time for us to chime out. We chimed in, but it's time for us to chime out. Again, I love you, bro. Chad, I love you, bro. Said, I
Much
love
love to
you,
you,
bro. Thank
man.
y'all
Both
for doing
y'all.
the things that you do. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for sharing part of my story. Thank you for a protected space. And come on over to the fire pit. We talking manipulation tonight. Let's light it up. We got Gin as a co-host, which is something different for us. Everybody's welcome. The story is just, I don't care how you get there, just get there. Get there, that's it. Balance. Love y'all.
Thank you,
Thank
my
you,
friend.
Gin.
Man,
Love you too, brother.
Carter.
Love you too, brother. Thank you, man.
Out.
dude.
Thank you. All right, Carter. I'll see you in just a few.
Nice, yeah.
I'll see him in just a few. I'm gonna reset things here. Probably even do a restart on my phone real quick, and then I'll be over there to meet with you guys.
Okay.
Chad, thank you, brother. We're doing a quick wrap on this one because we got like 5 minutes before
Do
he starts
it.
this show. I appreciate you, man. I know you didn't get to
Do
say
it.
a lot today, but
Hey,
you're gonna get to
no,
say more
no.
about it in the future.
Man, I made a new friend and found some badass music. I'm good.
I thought you
Good.
might like that, bro.
Yes, a
I
lot.
told you we're gonna have a musician on, man. I told you we have a musician on every day, but we had
You
a
just-
musician on today.
You just tell
Of
him
course,
I'm
Mike,
about to
thank
get
you.
on one of those hooks, y'all. You just tell him that. Tell him I'm about to sing his
I
next
heard
hook.
that. And big thanks to Seb
Orson.
for coming and being willing to do that, being willing to
Yeah.
bring that studio in here and give us that capability. Everybody, appreciate y'all watching today. All of you that hung with us, y'all got a full 2 hours worth today. I'm about to jump over on the fire
Sure.
pit with Seb and Italo. You might even find Chad roaming around over there. I don't know what he probably got to go wrestle Gary up. He escaped earlier. Chad,
He
I love you,
did.
brother. I appreciate you.
Love you,
Y'all,
brother.
please go order some shirts from Chad Rev Art. He's got lots of merchandise.
Coffee
available.
mugs.
Thank you, SA Artistries.
Yeah.
You know we love you. Go over there and check Chad's stuff out. Thank y'all for coming through from Mike. Mike's a good dude. I hope you'll follow up on him. All these wonderful names, Can Do, SA, Haley. Appreciate y'all coming through here. I know I
got
missed a lot of
out,
y'all. I didn't do
dude.
shout outs today because I didn't want to interrupt him. Love y'all. I got 3 minutes to get to my next point. Thank you very much. Chad, much
Beat
love,
it.
brother. Take
Catch
care,
y'all on
everybody.
the Flow States.
Yes. Yes.